In a dramatic escalation of the Russia-Ukraine war, Kiev has continued with its multi-pronged offensive against Russia. Moscow has been forced to scramble its men and machinery to try and repel the Ukrainian incursion into Kursk. Now, turning the screws further, Ukraine has also reportedly attacked a Russian airbase in the Lipetsk region, while a Russian airstrike on a supermarket in Ukraine has resulted in the deaths of at least about 2 people. Our next report gets you the major developments that are happening in the Russia-Ukraine war.
Russia-Ukraine war is changing gears. Ukraine is now on the front foot and launching audacious attacks on Russian territory. Russia has initiated a federal-level emergency response in the southwestern Kursk region as it continues to battle the invading Ukrainian forces for the 4th day. Russia's military, caught off guard by Ukraine's surprise attack, is now scrambling to reinforce its positions in the Kursk region, sending in more troops and heavy weaponry to repel the Ukrainian forces. Moscow claims that the Ukrainian military has lost as many as 945 troops and 102 armored vehicles, including 12 tanks and 17 personnel carriers. Though Kyiv has not officially confirmed its involvement in the Kursk operation, President Volodymyr Zelensky made it clear that Russia must face the consequences of its aggression. Kursk is not the only worry for Moscow. Ukraine claims to have executed a massive airstrike on a Russian military base in the Lipetsk region, a staggering 280 kilometers from the Russia-Ukraine border. This deep penetration into Russian territory represents a seismic shift in the conflict, exposing the glaring weaknesses in Russia's air defense systems. The Ukrainian attacks appear to be a strategic response to Russia's steady gains in Ukrainian territory, forcing Moscow to divert its resources and attention. Experts believe that the Kursk incursion could be a preemptive strike to deter a potential Russian offensive into the Sumy region. By striking first, Ukraine aims to disrupt Moscow's plans and erode its tactical advantage. However, the operation also carries significant risks as Ukrainian forces are operating far from their supply lines and in hostile territory. Russia, on the other hand, continues to pound Ukraine. Kyiv says that Russian forces launched another deadly attack on a supermarket in the eastern Ukrainian town of Kostiantynivka. As the situation evolves, the world watches with bated breath. The outcome of these audacious Ukrainian actions will have far-reaching implications for the war and could potentially alter the trajectory of the conflict. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
All right, now to give us more perspective in terms of what is happening at this moment in this war, we're being joined by Mr. Fred Weir, who's a journalist and a political commentator, and he's joining us live from Moscow. Mr. Weir, the fact that this incursion by the Ukrainians has now gone on into its 4th straight day and Russia is scrambling to try and repel this incursion. Was Russia taken by surprise, and why is it finding it so hard to push the Ukrainians back?
Yes, Russia was clearly taken by surprise, and it's not hard to see why. You have to get a sense of how vast Russia is. It's enormous, and that border between Ukraine and Russia is hundreds of kilometers long. It couldn't possibly be defended like every inch of it. So but the Ukrainians did achieve surprise. It's quite a daring, military maneuver, and it's not quite clear what it is intended to accomplish. I mean, a lot of military experts are scratching their heads over the strategic goal here, because yes, you can dive into Russian territory. You seize a number of villages. They did that. And the political propaganda impact is immense.
Right.
It forced Putin to hold a special meeting of the Security Council, and the whole country saw him looking angry. I suppose he meant to look angry, but it is a psychological blow. The Ukrainians wanted to show Russians what it's like to be under the gun, and they have succeeded. However, they're taking a few villages in a few hundred square kilometers of Russia's ginormous territory is little more than a mosquito bite in military terms. So the other factor, of course, which your commentator mentioned, is that in coming out into the open and attacking Russia, they exposed a lot of Ukrainian troops and equipment to Russian aviation, artillery, where Russia really has an advantage, and the Russians claim they've inflicted massive damage on those attackers. But clearly, as far as the psychological balance goes, this is a Ukrainian victory. But as far as the military equation is concerned, it's really doubtful.
But also looking at how the rules of engagement will change going ahead, because so far the Ukrainians, with the American weapons that they'd been fighting, had not been carrying out large-scale attacks as a concerted policy inside the Russian territory. Do you think that is now likely to change? Because here the Ukrainians are taking the battle into the Russian territory now.
Well, I don't see how it will change cardinally. As I said, Russia is just an enormous place, and you can do this. The Russians have done the same thing in the Kharkiv region. They penetrated into Ukrainian territory with presumably the same intentions, that is, to divert attention, to hopefully divert forces, and to achieve a psychological impact. So I don't think this is new. It's probably not the sort of thing the Ukrainians could sustain. Right. I mean, to keep it in perspective, there are apparently about 1,000 Ukrainian troops engaged in that invasion. That's not enough to seize a large Russian city or any real serious military objective. So what they're aiming for is to change the idea, the perspective of the war. And it remains to be seen. But yes, they certainly discombobulated the Russian establishment, and Putin, the look on Putin's face told you that. So let's see what happens.
Absolutely. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Fred Vieth, for joining us and getting his dark perspective there.
Thank you.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.